Welcome to Reddit Today, your daily Reddit reader. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit videos. My wife 33F is denying we are married and wants to be called my girlfriend. I'm confused. My wife, 33F, and I, 29 meters, have been married 4 years now. Coming on 5. We have generally had a good relationship and a good marriage. We had a reasonably expensive wedding, which we're still paying for now. I get the bill every month to prove it. My wife took charge of planning the wedding, so it was to her tastes. She seemed to enjoy it at the time and for the first few years of our marriage. She would look back at the wedding with me happily and without issues. In recent months I've noticed my wife's attitude to our wedding and our marriage itself shift. It began by her, I thought jokingly, referring to herself as my girlfriend. She told me to buy her a girlfriend card for Valentine's Day rather than a wife one. For example, I thought she was just playing around at first, but this behavior has only escalated. 2 months ago my wife stopped wearing her wedding ring. I was understandably upset and asked her if there was something wrong. She told me everything was fine and she just doesn't the sensation of jewelry on her hands. My wife has never liked rings and jewelry, so this could be the case. But when we are with friends, my wife will get upset if I talk about her as my wife rather than just a girlfriend. She will go as far to interrupt me if I'm talking, telling a story to correct me on our relationship. Initially, this was something our friends laughed at, but now everybody just finds it understandably awkward. One of our friends was talking about their own wedding, which is scheduled for early next year. They asked for advice from my wife about how she'd planned ours, and my wife responded with what? Wedding, single quote. When our friend continued talking about the table decorations my wife had used, my wife visibly teared up in front of the whole group and had to step outside. Later that evening, I asked her directly if she has a problem with our relationship or if I'm doing something wrong in our marriage. She assured me that everything is fine between us. From my perspective, outside of this issue, our relationship is as strong as ever. We are considering kids in the near future. Our sex life is great. And my wife recently suggested we get matching tattoos as a renewal of our love. Is there advice anyone can offer on why my wife might be acting like this and what I should do? No kids until you find out what the hell is going on. And no matching tattoos! Exclamation mark. But matching tracksuit is a go! Exclamation mark. Edit, but keep us up to date op. Dot. This needs to be the advice op takes from this thread more than anything else. I would guess wife's having some kind of breakdown related to realizing she's growing up. A child would really screw things up. She is closing in on 30. That number does something strange to some people. Edit. I can't read and thought she was the 29-year-old. I'll go back to my coffee now. She's 33. He's 29. But your point still stands. Maybe she's realizing the permanence of their marriage and having some sort of midlife crisis. By OP's description it sounds like their relationship is otherwise good. But her reaction to ignoring the wedding and crying about discussing the arrangements is incredibly odd. I might also get her checked out for a possible medical explanation. This wouldn't be the first time on here a drastic change like this has been explained by a brain tumor or something similar. Agreed. This is bordering delusional behavior. Sometimes brain tumors cause this. Sometimes mental illnesses arise. Sometimes other medical conditions are arising. Maybe it's her quarter-life crisis. I think you should do your best to express your concern, but if she gets weirdly violent or starts crying uncontrollably, laughing uncontrollably, I'd call 911 to help you get her checked out. It's not a crazy person thing. That would cover that something is more medically wrong and she should go to a doctor, GP, or, if she is comfortable, a PsyD. Do your best to ask lots of questions and not accuse her of anything. Use lots of I statements. I'm concerned that you don't want to be my wife anymore. I feel very hurt when I am not referred as your husband because I take great pride in our relationship and I greatly cherish it. Sounds like a mental breakdown. Go see a doctor or a therapist. This is above Reddit's pay grade. Yeah, mental breakdown or even some neuro issue. Does she know they actually got married? Maybe something is making her forget. Is she acting normally in the other aspects of life? Exactly. Honestly, this sounds like a severe mental health crisis. A medical and or neurological issue, or dare I say it, Early onset Alzheimer's. OP. Is she currently taking any medications that have forgetfulness as a side effect? My mom got some really strong medicine to counter tremors she has in her legs and she started behaving really irrationally on them. We feared the worst, but it was the meds bashing holes into her memory. In any case, this is not normal. Not normal at all. She needs professional and medical help immediately. Edit. People have pointed out her behavior doesn't line up with early onset Alzheimer's, while others say it does. Anyway, I'm obviously not a medical professional, so I'm leaving it up to them. I can say with certainty that this is above Reddit's pay grade though. Agree. Sounds like this woman really needs some help. Yeah, it kinda seems like she just might not know. IDK if this is gonna be helpful, but can you imagine that? Like, you think you're in a stable relationship with your boyfriend, then all of a sudden find out you've been married for 5 years? Didn't Adam Sandler make a movie about this? 50 First Dates, I think. I think it's an age issue. She feels old. I was thinking the same thing. BF and GF reminds me of young love, fresh passion of youth. I've been married 15 years, but sometime I look back at our BF-GF stage and the proposal with fond memories of being young and in love with your futures ahead of you. IDK might be more serious, but I did get this vibe. This is a pretty excessive way of showing that though. I get where you're coming from, but denying you're even married and crying in front of friends seem a bit much for someone not feeling as young as she once did. You need to sit down with her seriously and make sure she's okay. This does sound like she could be having a breakdown and needs some help. Or a brain tumor. This happened to a friend of mine and he started losing parts of memories. He had a tumor the size of a kiwi they had to remove. Edit. The fruit's kiwi, not the bird. A dear friend of mine had extremely similar symptoms to OP's wife, which turned out to be Huntington's disease. It's a terrible illness that I wouldn't wish on anyone. His wife is the right age for the onset, and the symptoms you're describing are familiar to me. I hope they investigate Huntington's disease. My sweet friend, now deceased, had all of these psychological symptoms for about a year and a half before any of the physical symptoms of the disease began to plague her. I know that I am more worried about Huntington's than the average Redditor, but they should at least see a doctor and have her checked out properly. I had an experience with someone with a brain problem. Wife called in to say her husband was depressed and wanted him evaluated, like for a mental health issue. I come out and talk with him. He's in the bed and doesn't seem fazed that a cop is in his bedroom asking what year it is. He had just stopped going to work, and when I asked, he said he didn't have work that day. It was a work day and definitely one he would be at work for. Edit wanted to add he was actually fired at this point because he had stopped going to work and never called them. They just assumed he didn't care. No one knew at that point of any medical problems. I explained to the wife legally there's nothing I can do and direct her to the courts. They get the proper paperwork done. I come back out later. This time he gets up out of bed and just casually walks to the bathroom to brush his teeth. It's about 4 p.m. and he's just getting out of bed. Anyway, I take him to the hospital, and since I only happened to work that area that one day, I couldn't ever go back by. Well, a few months later I was bugged by it, so I called the wife. She was so relieved I called because she didn't know how to reach me. Turned out the husband had stage 4 brain cancer, which affected his logic and reasoning parts of his brain. They were on a track to get him the treatment he needed, and his work was understanding of why his job performance was so low. They offered him back his work so he could get medical. Honestly, one of the best things I've been able to do to help someone, and I still think about them often. It's scary and shows it can happen to anyone without any physical warnings. This is the exact way my friend's mom was acting. Then they took her to the doctors eventually when it got really bad and found out she had a tumor pressing on some part of her brain. It was like she was transported 20 years into the past, but only in her head. She would start acting shy around her husband because she didn't know if he had a crush on her or not. They've been married for 15 years. Is she okay? Are they all okay? Also, the last bit is cute, even if it's due to a brain tumor. Yeah, everyone is all good. That was about 5 years ago. I'm not going to pretend like I know about brain tumors, but my understanding was that she had a type of brain tumor that was easily removable, but due to the position, location, it had some pretty serious symptoms like memory loss, loss of balance, and some other weird stuff like what I described above. I've talked to her since and she just said that she really doesn't remember the whole thing. In her mind, from beginning to end, from when she first started acting weird to the day she had the surgery done to remove the tumor. It was only like 1 to 2 weeks. Obviously, in reality it was over a year and a half. But she said that's how it is in her mind. About 2 weeks of being confused, then surgery, then back to her normal happy self. Kinda creepy that she has no recollection of almost an entire year out of her life. An even creepier fact is that if you ask her about specific things that happened while she had their tumor, she can remember them. But if you ask her to bring up anything substantial on her own, she can't remember that entire year. For example, what important event happened in August? Quote, my friend's cousin graduated. I have no idea what happened. Quote. But if you ask her like this, she will remember. Do you remember Joey's graduation in August? OMG yes, the whole family went and Ruth almost fell down the stairs because it was raining. The rain is a weird RDDDD thing. I was thinking brain tumor as well. I've seen enough Grey's Anatomy to know a brain tumor when I hear about one. Op needs to rush his wife to the ER and hope he gets a good intern who can diagnose this in 5 minutes. Might be lupus. If she got upset when friends talked about her table decorations, it sounds like OP's wife genuinely believes they are not married. As per the comments, meds or other health issues can cause this. Go to a doctor. I know 2 people who acted weird and did really crazy and dangerous things totally out of character. One of them involved a tractor, because their meds had messed up their calcium levels. Go to a doctor. In case Op is reading this, go to a doctor. She is displaying confusion when discussing the wedding and your relationship. This sounds like a medical issue. Physical or mental. She needs medical attention immediately. I also want to mention that if she really doesn't remember, which I think is the case, Op should keep in mind how scary this must be for her. Have you ever asked her directly about the issue? Just ask, why do you keep calling yourself my GF instead of my wife? See what happens and keep us updated. Feels like over 50% of posts in this sub could be solved or at least enormously benefit from a simple direct question. Instead we get posts like this one where Op is actively avoiding the issue and instead of confronting their partner, turns to Reddit. TBF, if Op were the sort that asks simple direct questions, the story probably wouldn't make it to us. I asked her directly if she has a problem with our relationship or if I'm doing something wrong in our marriage. Just ask, why do you keep calling yourself my GF instead of my wife? There's a pretty big difference between these questions. I think your wife might need a doctor or some therapy. What you've written sounds like she is having a disconnect from reality. Get professional help. Agreed. It could be as serious as a physical JSSUE. Or means of coping with something that she did. Either a concern with the cost of the wedding, or it could be postpartum to the wedding. Obviously this is a serious issue if she's completely denying it. But there are lots of women who spend so much time of their life planning the perfect wedding, that when it's over, there's sometimes anxiety and depression akin to what some athletes get when winning gold in their Olympics. It's over, that's it. You do it once and it's not happening again. Her approach to just simply denying it ever happened is odd, and there could be underlying issues to why. But it seems like she might be upset that the wedding and celebration is all over, and they're still paying for it. Either that or she cheated and has completely snapped and prefers to rather believe that she cheated on her boyfriend rather than her husband, and hold off on the children for a while. And the tattoo. Do not, I repeat, do not even think to have kids before this is resolved. What kids? Please call me your sister, I'm not your mom. Thanks for watching Reddit today. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit videos. If you like these videos and want longer versions, check out Reddit A Day 2.